gonna be
And we are back.
We're back.
Episode 3.
That's right.
Now, I had so much time with episode 2. I kid you not, man. And in episode 2, we talked about some very important topics. And I'm glad that you agreed that we could take our time and come back to talk about the topic that we have today.
Yes. Yes. And also, by the way, you're tuned in to Black and Brown Mountain Town. That's right.
Get it.
Let's get it.
In the mountains.
And before we jump in, just a quick note. We are going to be having honest conversations about mental health, community, racism, identity, healing, and what it means to navigate life as Black and Brown folks in places where we haven't always felt seen, welcomed, or supported.
And as you listen, we invite you to go at your own pace, take what serves you, leave what doesn't.
That's right.
Pause, stretch, go for a walk. Listen to it while you take your walk. And come back later and listen to the rest if you need to. Because guess what? Caring for yourself is always welcome here at the Black and Brown Mountain Town.
That's right. And while we'll share stories, insights, and reflections, this podcast is not a substitute for therapy or mental health care. If you need support, we encourage you to reach out to trusted people in your life and check the show notes for mental health resources. We are so glad you're here.
So glad you're here. Now let's get it started. Let's get it. I can't wait to go in. I'll be waiting to get here, Pauline. I'll tell you, I was at the gym this morning like, man, I'm recording today. We're going in the podcast today. You know what I'm saying? So bienvenides.
Bienvenidos, bienvenides, yes.
Bienvenidos. Am I supposed to say this or those?
I like this because I
Yes.
like to be gender inclusive. So,
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Spanish is a gendered language, right? And it's gendered based on the binary. So
Okay.
like women, men, etc. And I like to use the E with bienvenides to just make it more
Bienvenides.
inclusive of all genders.
I got you.
And there are people who are going to be listening to this who completely disagree with that. That is okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you teaching me. You always teaching, and I'm always trying to learn. That's one thing about me. I want to learn everything I can learn. So to my vatos out there, mi hermanos, bienvenides.
That's right.
Did I get it? I'm getting better. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna start rolling my tongue with it a little. I gotta keep on practicing. Bienvenides. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
All right. So last time when we had our session, we talked about the big question. What is mental health?
That's right.
That came up. What is mental health? And we touched on a couple of different things as it relates to mental health. We talked about relationships, stress, joy, belonging, boundaries. We touched on grief a little bit, purpose, culture, identity. But we knew that we had to come back and revisit these. Like,
Yeah. Yes. And like when we left off, you were like, culture. Let's end it here and like continue to talk about it.
Yeah.
So welcome to the culture episode. Although lots of episodes may be the culture episode. Every time.
Culture episode 43.
43. That's right. That's right.
But culture, it's big too. And like when I think about culture and the word culture, I had to learn what culture meant, because a lot of people really don't know what culture consists of. They think race and culture is equivalent, but it really isn't. Like race is how you look, but culture is way more to culture than that.
Totally. And we were talking a little bit about this earlier, right? Like race is also, let's not forget, a social construct. It was
Man-made.
created. It is man-made. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have real life impact. Like obviously we see the life impact, but like let's not forget that race wasn't always a thing that was talked about in the way that we talk about it today, or used to continue to divide or oppress people or make other people feel superior or whatever, right? So like, And to your point, race and culture, not the same.
Not the same. And it is something that divides. And that's why even with us being Black and brown professionals, people living, and I would say we're surviving, living in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, knowing that race is definitely division more so than it is together. And so we are here to amplify the voices of those that we have worked with, people that we represent, people in our circles, our networks, being able to be a voice and slay some stigma, give some education, and talk about what a lot of people ain't willing to talk about because we ain't skirt.
No. Why should we be? That
That part. That part.
Should we be? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
culture, right?
Yeah.
Culture is the way a group of people lives. I love that. It's made of shared beliefs, traditions, language, food, music, values, customs, and ways of communicating. What are some examples of like when you think about food within the culture that you represent? Tell me some foods.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So first of all, food is very important to me in my culture, and especially with my background. I grew up in restaurants, right? I have a family that all cooks incredibly well, and so when I think of food, but it's okay. I'm just like, I got excited thinking about food.
It is that time.
It is that time. So there's like the Mexican food, right, that I grew up with. Like on my birthday, I would always ask my mom to make enchiladas verdes, right? And I also grew up in the South, so I'm like, I can make mean biscuits and gravy.
Let's go.
And you know what I mean? So, and sometimes I like to make chorizo biscuits and gravy. I like to blend the
showing
culture.
out now to blend them.
Gotta blend them. So it's like, right. So it's just like, yeah, I could go on and on and on about Mexican food and Mexican cuisine, but yeah, I think like tres leches cake, enchiladas verdes, right? Like carne en su jugo. Okay.
And you was about to go in, and I was thinking too, because which one is the one with the corn husk and it's wrapped in a corn husk?
Tamales.
Tamales. That's
Yeah.
I love me some tamales.
Yes.
But like thinking of food and thinking of the difference between race and culture,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit them with this.
Okay.
Like even with if you was to say that black is its own culture standalone, no.
No.
Culture is different from race. I know I have more of like a rural culture
Yeah.
because that's where I come from. That's my lineage, right?
Right.
So it's certain foods that we eat.
Yeah.
Like come Thanksgiving, I'm still looking for chitlins.
Yeah.
But some black people be like, I can't believe you eat that. You know what I'm saying? But this is a part of like where I grew up at, and it's almost like a tradition for my family because we know around Thanksgiving somebody gonna be making a mean pot of chitlins.
Yes, yes. And one of the places that I've lived in the South was Mississippi.
Oh, Mississippi.
You know, and so yeah, like chitlins also a part of it. And like we also, okay, so we're talking about food.
Yeah.
And just tying it back to mental health a little bit and like what we've inherited, right? So when we look at Southern cuisine and where it comes from, right? It looks like making the most of every part of the animal, oftentimes the pieces that were discarded.
Come on.
And so you got to season it, you got to use fat to make it tasty, right?
Wow.
Maybe you're putting a bunch of sugar to sweeten it, right?
Wow.
And so like we've even inherited how we cook because of the way we've had to survive.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And so like when looking at culture and mental health and how we make sense of it, like I just think about how in a lot of ways, like our culture is beautiful, it's complicated, and it's also how we've learned to survive oppressive systems.
Wow.
Yeah,
And speaking of systems, systems impact culture.
that's right.
Systems totally impact culture. And even going back to looking at the family traditions and like the foods we eat, the religious beliefs and everything, like I look back how it is in my family, and we want to talk about how systems can impact culture. All of my dad's brothers did prison time. So like whenever there's like a get together, whenever my uncles was living, several of them got prison tattoos. They know how to play like certain card games that they only played in prison.
Yeah.
But like that is really a way that the systems can impact a culture, like what do they call mass incarceration, right? So it can totally impact the culture because. And what I've also seen is like when you look at a system. So let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because one key thing that I love that me and you had talked about the other day, we were talking about like how it is in the mountains when we're trying to survive.
Yes.
And you had shared something with me like within your culture, like how it is for those the work ethic and how the work ethic. And how having to go to work and different things like that, how that impacts the mental health. So can we go back there a little bit and talk about that?
Totally. And so like again, like systems impact culture, right? Systems impact people, and culture impacts like how we move as a group, right?
Yeah.
So nothing exists in a vacuum. Communities are consistently and constantly responding to the conditions that we live in, right?
Come on.
And so something that can show up in, and I'll speak again to kind of like immigrant communities, like not specific to the Latina communities, but I see this a lot with like first generation folks or even folks who are immigrants coming to this country of like, sacrifices were made to be here, so you better work your ass off.
Come on.
Like the immigrant hustle is so real. And while I find a lot of beauty in that, a lot of pride in that, it can also lead to burnout. It can also lead to over-identification with productivity.
Come on.
And we are not necessarily put on this planet to just produce, like capitalism would like to have us think we are, right? So it's, we were talking about just like that hustle and how it's both beautiful and also can lead to a lot of weight on one's shoulders.
And that is a lot of weight. And I have seen it, like from my view of seeing like where people are working so much, they're working tons of hours to where they don't have time to take care of their mental health. And they don't have time to go see a therapist, or they've never even considered going to see a therapist because within their culture, it's seen as a weakness, you know?
Right. Absolutely. And I think too, like when I think of, and we talked a little bit briefly about, do we bring up things that are happening in the world right now, right? And so at the time of recording this, we are coming at like ICE having murdered 2 people in the past 2 weeks, right? So let me just first and foremost say, like, ICE out. Not here for it. That is another system of oppression that we live in. And so, like, when we look at even just, again, systems that are impacting our mental health and how it shapes culture, like the kind of trying to fly under the radar to not necessarily be out here in these streets so that we are not harmed by whether it's ICE or law enforcement or whatever, makes me think back to a comment that you said last episode when you're like, what happens in this house stays in this house. Yeah.
And that's a big thing. And, you know, coming from like, let's talk Black rural family. We don't talk about mental health challenges. We talk about the spirit. We talk about spiritual warfare. We talk about casting out demons, right? So you're not gonna go and talk about these issues because, for one, it ain't nobody else's business. What goes on in this house stays in this house. But for two, even if I talk about it in this house, the next thing you know, I am now basically ostracized potentially by the whole a community, because the community is tight in those smaller communities where everybody, they either work together, they go to church together, everything's together, right? They hang out together, they go to the same bootleggers or whatever, and people talking. And so now it's like you can't go talking about what's going on in our house, because then they're going to talk about our family, and then our whole family is going to be negatively impacted by what you got going on, and you need to figure yourself out. You need to figure this out. You know, and it's a lot of like that, pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality, but it don't work like that with mental health. You can't truly expect somebody to pull themselves up by the bootstraps with mental health. It takes community. It goes against what is required for healing. It has to happen in community. Just like when we started this, we was talking about clinical and communal, both of them are needed. But I appreciate you and your vulnerability of sharing how that is, and when you talked about that over-identification with productivity, man, you want to talk about how that impacts a man's mental health, especially when you formally incarcerated, you got kids, and you got to survive, you got to provide, and everything that comes along with that. And now my identity, my validation is coming from me working like a slave, just work. Meanwhile, I'm doing nothing for my spirit, nothing for my mental health. And then whenever life on life's terms show up, a lot of times from the system, right now I'm ready to lash out. And let's talk about these modern day issues we had, kind of like they had the down in, what was it called, the nationalists with the mask on. So they had that on. And so I know I live in Western North Carolina, and I have a diverse group of friends, my sister, and I am in recovery. And most of the recovery meetings I go to, they are mostly white. And most of the time, those white people are typically from rural areas. And I know that racism is still alive, very much so, even more so in the rural area. So systems and what's going on with politics and that division and all that stuff, that impacts my mental health, because now when I show up in a space and I'm one of the few black people, if my mental ain't on point, I might be ready to lash out.
Well, and there's also, like, again, like when we look at the way history has shaped things, the way systems have shaped things, the way culture has been shaped by all of this, there can be this hypervigilance that happens in Black and brown communities. And for good reason, right? I mean, it's not like it's coming out of nowhere. And so when something like white nationalists marching masked in Washington, D.C. happens, that activates something in us that say, like, do we need to be vigilant? Like, are we safe?
Am I safe?
Am I safe? And of course, like, our allies and the people that we work with, right? Like, of course, like, we want to feel safe. And if I don't know you, can I trust you? You know?
And the things that I've seen in my life has led me to having relevant, legit trust issues.
Yeah. And so these things that we, like, maybe unintentionally, not even, sometimes it is intentional and sometimes it's unintentional, right? Like, I mean, I think about like the conversations that I know happen in Black and brown communities, like moms talking to their kids, right? Of like, you better be careful and on your best behavior when you leave this house, right? Like, some of it is intentional protection, and how much of it is like still necessary, and how much of it maybe we can like loosen up a little bit, right? Like, we've inherited a lot. And working with clients, again, especially like first generation clients, whether it's like first gen to be the first in their family to go to college or whatever it is, like any first, right? There can be even just like this cultural burden of like, ooh, okay, this historical trauma stops with me, or this cycle stops with me. I am now the person who is charged and has the responsibility, or feels like, you know, has the responsibility to make sure this doesn't continue past me.
Breaking chains, or in some spaces I would say breaking generational curses.
That's right.
And I believe it does start with us, like the conversation we had with the college students earlier, when we were talking about like how culture impacts our mental health and how systems impact the culture. And it got to the point to where one person was like, well, what can we do about it? What are we going to do about it? And say, it starts now. This podcast is a part of the solution. We are recruiting allies. We are recruiting humanizers. We are recruiting healed people. We believe that healed people heal people. That's a part of a culture that we can adapt. I mean, like looking at systems too, like I'm going to talk about church. Let me go to that system. Because for the listeners, I do want you to understand that systems impact your culture. And if you don't understand that, you should reach out to us. And we will gladly
reach out.
Reach out and touch.
I'm like, licensing. I don't know. I'm like, wait.
But I don't know what it was Michael Jackson. I'm so into Michael Jackson mode. That movie was so good. But let me stay focused, because sometimes my mind be everywhere.
We are here.
Okay, we're here. But what I was gonna say though, for the listeners, I want them to understand that systems impact your culture.
That's right.
And maybe we need to have, I'm gonna jot that down. We do need to have a session about systems and different types of systems. And why it's important to have systems, but systems of liberation.
That's right.
But going back, let's go back to what we was talking about, right? We was looking at, you know, race, looking at how culture, how systems impact culture, and how culture impacts, you know, how we show up in the world, how we choose our friends, how we choose our romantic relationships, how we choose where we work, all of these different things. And we're thinking about the pressure, and we're thinking about, you know, the racism, systemic racism, and all the things that can happen. And with the college students, they was like, well, what can we do? What can we do? These conversations. It's about like making safe spaces for people to have conversations, developing allies, giving out education. Certain people come in and get an education, then they take it back to their networks and their community, and the next thing you know, we have more healed people healing people.
That's right.
But that's the way we do it. And looking at the faith community, like even in the faith community, it's a system. The faith community is a system, but not all churches are equipped. Let me talk churches, because even within faith, there's different faiths.
Yes.
But let me talk about the church in the mountains, right? The church in the mountains, if we don't equip that church in the mountains to be healers, to use non-stigmatizing language, they can unintentionally do harm trying to help people.
Right.
And that system itself has led a lot of people to not wanting to talk about how they really feel, because when they run the church, if that church hasn't had the proper training, if they don't know mental health first aid and these other things, they can just go straight to where I feel like I need to cast this demon out of you. And now you feel less of a Christian. You feel less of a believer because you're possessed by an evil spirit.
Right.
Nah, homie, you might need a therapist, a support group, and maybe some medication for a season.
Yeah. And maybe like a nap and some food, you know? Like, you just need a nap.
It is that simple.
Maybe you're
sometimes.
tired because you've been working too hard.
Yeah.
You've been working twice as hard as everyone else to get half as far, right? Like, so, and that's also a part of like the culture that's ingrained. And what's interesting when we look at our faith-based system, why have our communities leaned so heavily on it? It's because the systems that were in place like failed a lot of people, so people turned to the church, right? And there is a responsibility that I think the church has to be able to be informed and speak on these things. I mean, we can look at the civil rights movement, right? And a lot of it happened in church basements. And then when we look at like the Latina perspective, and I'm speaking to like Mexico specifically, we have a really interesting relationship with Catholicism because it was used to colonize, you know? So like there can be a lot of feelings there when it comes to just religion and how we use it, and like a shame-based religion at that, which is also difficult.
And that is difficult. And that'll sometimes hinder the healing that can happen from a faith leader. So for those who are listening, I hope you heard that. Like if you are a believer, if you are a person like me, you're a follower of Jesus, know that your assignment is to make sure that people understand that it's okay to come to you. You got to make sure that you're a safe space, because they may have had some trauma that came from how they dealt with those churches that will lead them to like judging and stigmatizing you. And so that's why these conversations are so important. And it was powerful how that came up in the conversation with the young people when they was like, well, what can we do about it? What we have to do something about it. It starts with conversations, building relationships, building coalitions, collaborations, having support groups, having events. There's a Minority Mental Health Awareness Day event tomorrow, but doing that thing and doing it loudly so people can see, because there are some people that don't want to be trapped into that over identification with productivity. There are some people that want a nap, they want a break, they want somebody to tell them it's okay to take a nap.
It's okay. And oh gosh, if I'm sure this still exists on social media, but there's a page called Nap Ministry. You know, so rest is also resistance, an act of resistance. We talk about joy as an act of resistance, right? Yeah. But like, so is rest. Yeah.
Rest is an act of resistance. And sometimes that resistance can come from self. But we're going to have another one about boundaries, and we will talk about boundaries for self and others. But
we'll have something on self-care at some point. Yes.
But staying with that in that same vein, with talking about like systems impacting culture. If your culture is one that is like you got to work hard, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, don't tell nobody how you feel, then I want you to kind of like think twice about that, man. Think about like, how are you really landing when you get home to your family, especially for the men? How does that? How are you coming home from all of this work? Are you coming home and you're embracing your family and enjoying your family, or are you so overworked to the point to where you have no emotional currency for your 5 or 6 year old?
Emotional currency.
It's that serious.
Tender.
And I've had that lived experience too, because like, looking at in the culture that I mostly identify with, we get taught to code switch.
Yeah.
Like, you got to code switch.
Yeah.
So that can be heavy, trying to be somebody else all day so I can get by my work day so I can have my livelihood.
Right.
Another thing is like, suppress your emotions and like with especially with black women, it's like they run into the point to where it's like, you don't want to say too much or say it a certain type of way because now you're an angry black woman.
That's right.
So now you walking around all day with suppressed emotions,
Mm-hmm.
right? You also are walking around with these mental health challenges that you ain't talking to nobody about because you know it's not safe.
Right.
And you've been taught that it's not safe.
Right. Or you've been taught that, like, you need to be a strong black woman.
That part.
Right?
That part.
Yeah.
And so you walking around with all of this, and then they also tell you, you got a code switch to fit in. So now you're walking around a whole made up person and you're not yourself.
Right.
You are not yourself.
Right.
How long can that last before a person just crashes out?
Right. And I think, like, a lot of people, when they come to me, I get asked this question a lot. They're like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, well, what happened?
Yeah.
Tell me the environment, right? Like, tell me what's going on, because nothing's probably wrong with you, right? But it's like, how are you reacting as a human being to things that have been passed down to you?
Come on. And I love that you brought up the trauma-informed. That's that trauma-informed piece when we go from saying what's wrong with you to what happened
What
to
happened?
you. And I had to modify my approach, too, because, like, being a community activist, and you remember how I used to be some years ago? I was fighting for my people, I'm trying to tell you.
And I'm here for it.
Yep.
'Cause, yeah.
But when I was doing that, man, I had to backtrack, too, and go back to some of the black women that I would get mad at, because I would get mad at them because I want them to understand my fight and support my fight. But they're working inside of a system to where they're doing the best at their part.
Yeah.
And then I had to have a trauma-informed lens to say, wow, I can only imagine what you're going through in those systems to
Right.
survive working inside those systems to
Right.
make change in your arena of making change.
Yes.
But I had to have my healing before I could see that, because there were a time when I was walking around with resentments for people, right? But I never understood what it was that happened to them, how they had to show up working twice as hard to receive equal opportunities. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so I had to understand that, but I myself could not understand it until I had the healing that I needed to have.
Absolutely. And what you said was so powerful, right? It's like, who are you once you've, like, put on these layers that society and expectations, right? So, like, what needs to be shed in order to be able to come home to yourself? And from the clinical perspective, right? Like, in working with folks, like, I'm just like, is that your voice or is that someone else's voice? Like, whose voice is telling you this, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be like my mom or the church or whatever, right? And sometimes it's like, it's me. I've now internalized this to this point, right? So back to the what can I do? Let's have awareness around what stories we tell ourselves and whether you want to continue to tell that story to yourself or whether you want to choose another story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And choosing another story, and I would say choosing a person or two that you can share that story with, because and that goes right back to the clinical and communal, because for me, man, I had to have people, coaching mentors who I could talk to about exactly what was going on with me, especially in the professional space.
Yeah.
And looking at how this podcast was even created, mi hermana, you know what I'm saying? We providing these services for the people, and they trust us to talk about their mental health challenges. Then I have a therapist that is gentle, and all therapists ain't for everybody.
Correct.
But 100% of the time, you have been able to be a safe space. You'll be like, thank you, bro. I appreciate you connecting me with, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, boom, now they understand how to talk about their mental health. And then the next thing you know, they in a small group with me, talking with a man who just got out of prison about the importance of therapy and how it's helping them.
Right.
It really works like that.
Yeah.
And we're professionals talking about it, right? So now people know there are professionals that exist that are culturally sensitive, that understand, and that are a part of the solution.
Absolutely.
And then next comes the education. Because when they come to us, we got to educate them.
Right.
And so that goes back to, like I say, what the young college students was asking us. Like, well, what can we do? What are we going to do about it? Are we in the solution, baby? Like, share, comment. You know what I'm saying? Get it out there. Yeah. And we're going to have some guests sooner or later, but you did say something that I appreciated, and for the listeners, I want y'all to really embrace this question. I want you to meditate on this. Today is actually. Do I need to say the date that we recorded it?
No, you can.
Well,
Let the
today,
people know.
It is what it is. I'm new at podcasting, by the way. But it's July the 17th, 2026. So whenever you hear this, whenever you embrace this, whenever you engage with this content, I want you to ask yourself this question that my sister just said. Who are you after you take all them layers off? Who are you? And I want you to wait till you get home. Don't do it on your lunch break. Don't do it right when you get off work. Do it when you put your sweatpants and your Crocs on. I want you to get... That's when it's serious.
That's when it's serious. Sweatpants and Crocs.
Yeah.
Also cultural. You know.
Facts. Like ain't nobody wearing no Crocs, man. But who are you?
Yeah.
When you take the layers off.
And who
You're
do you
such a
want to
therapist.
be?
You are so therapist, fam. Who are you when you take those layers off?
Yeah. Who are you and who do you want to be, right? Like, because it's okay if you're looking around being like, this isn't where I want to be. This isn't who I want to be. That's okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, it is.
Take some steps now.
And especially like when we talk about like I keep going back to the systems.
Yeah.
Because how we framed it in that conversation, like how systems impact culture.
Yes.
How workforce systems impact culture. How now I'm in construction for how long?
Right.
I'm in hospitality for how long? I'm in these fields. I'm working so many hours.
Right.
For how long and why?
And for how much?
And for how much?
Yeah.
What am I going to do about this? Who do I need to talk to do something about this?
Right.
And like having a career change also requires some mental stability.
It does.
Because sometimes mental health challenges can come from the workplace.
Yeah.
And it goes
Oh
back to
my
one
God.
of the things.
I'm like, all of my challenges.
Oh, Lord. Help us.
I won't go.
I've had my share. Let me be careful. But like the reality of it is what you said in the What Is Mental Health episode 2, because you was like, because I was talking about the clinical side, right? And you was like, and it could just be, you're overworked. You always normalize it. You need a nap. Like maybe it's time to get a new job.
Right.
And it could be a simple solution like that to increase your mental health. And it also goes back to how we was talking about being able to talk about mental health without having to talk about a diagnosis.
That's right. That's right. Or like, I don't know, licenses. I'm like, at some point, that's a conversation.
Yeah.
And let's also talk about the fact, like we've talked about some of like the pitfalls or like the more shadow side to sometimes what culture can feel like it's imposing on us, or like the culture that we're swimming in when we don't even recognize that we're swimming in it, right?
Wow.
But there are also really beautiful, beautiful things that we also inherit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, even when we look at what we've inherited, maybe we are inheriting generational trauma, right? And trauma responses, but we also inherit generational joy and generational like strength,
I like that.
right?
I like that.
And so it's like, there's also just sometimes it's like, what have we inherited that has kept us safe, right? What have we inherited that we're grateful for, that we've been taught? So even just like work ethic, right? Shout out to my parents. I feel like I shout them out every episode.
Shout out, mama.
Te quiero mucho. Right? Los quiero mucho. But it's like, like the overworking was definitely passed down to me, and I'm both like aware that I need to chill on it, and very grateful for it, right? So there's always like, it can be a double-edged sword, or there can be a light side and shadow side to it. Yeah.
And resilience, that's a tricky one. Resilience is tricky. Like I love the word resilience, and we talk about this resilience of the Appalachian, in which we are a resilient people. Yeah. And it can also be an intimidating word for a person who is actually having a paralyzing situation, and they don't have the resources they need for their mental health, and now they're hopeless and alone, which is a recipe for suicide. So we need to be careful how much we use the word resilience, and intentional about how we use the word resilience, because it is a double-edged sword. Yep. But you was talking about some generational or some positive things that can get passed down. For me, I say my faith. And the way that faith was embedded in me, I remember seeing my mama, my aunties, all of them pray and speaking in tongues, going to church, shouting. Like that's a certain culture of the church that I grew up going to when I was younger.
100%.
Palmer Grove Baptist Church down there in Kingstown, North Carolina, Cleveland County. But looking at how faith was passed down to me, so whenever hard times did come, that was something that was already embedded in me. So whenever, and believe it or not, you know, the jailhouse religion is a real thing.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to hate on jailhouse religion, I want you to know that jailhouse religion is still working. But whenever I did go to jail, it was embedded in me. So when I was by myself in a cell, right, the first thing I knew to do, it wasn't necessarily just go straight to doing push-ups. I called upon the name of the Lord because that was passed down. And with faith, it can be passed down, but that can be a double-edged as well because depending upon the readiness of a church, the church can very well do some harm to a person if we're not careful and if they're not equipped.
Of course, of course. And like, I want to go back to resilience a little bit, and I'm gonna look at my camera.
Tell them. Tell them, sis.
I have such beef with the word resilience. Do we need it? Yes. Do we need to have grit? Yes. And who is constantly and consistently being asked to be resilient? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we are allowed to be soft.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to put that out there. Like, yes, resilience is important. And who are we constantly asking to be resilient?
Wow.
Right?
That's powerful, sis. Who are we constantly asking to be resilient? And it is okay to be soft. And it is okay to be weak. You know, that was one of the things that was told to me whenever my 10-year-old daughter died. Shout out to Jason Wilson. He's also a therapist that we work with Voices of Appalachia. And he sent me a song, and it was talking about how being strong is overrated. Yeah. And with faith being so closely tied to my lifestyle, like me living a faithful lifestyle, I must embrace the moments of weakness because in the Bible that I preach from, it says, when I am weak, he is strong, speaking of God. And if I'm always strong, that means that God doesn't have an opportunity to do his job. And my tribe doesn't have an opportunity to fill me up and be there for me. Yeah. So yes, I got beef with the word resilience too.
Yeah. And I think what you touched on again was like the reciprocity of it, right? Like even your relationship, like with your faith is reciprocal. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's like you can't always be the strong one. Okay. Right? Like we are allowed to rest. We are allowed to lean on one another. We need to lean on one another. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like you were talking about your faith being passed down. Like I'm thinking of just other things that have been passed down that are culturally just so helpful, right? And even when thinking about the church, like the music in the church, right? Or just music in general, like the storytelling, right? Whether in the church or outside of the church, right? Like there are these other things that are passed down too, like humor. My God, we with the things that have been survived, we need to have a good sense of humor. Yeah. Like
sometimes we got to look back and just laugh like, whew,
oh my God.
I'm glad this season is over. What was I thinking? But I do want to touch on another piece here with culture and systems. I just can't leave talking about the impact that systems can have on culture, right? Another can be seen as a system. It does operate as a system, especially when there's activity. It's community. Yes. Right? And like in the mountain town, in the mountains, in the rural areas, period. Like we see community as important. It's not like the big cities. Right. Like me, you had the country boy in D.C. Last week, your boy was in D.C. You know, and I'm happy. I'm smiling. Now I don't like all the traffic, and the anxiety kind of showed its ugly head, like being around all the people. But you know, going there and seeing so many black people, I'm smiling, I'm waiting, I'm head nodding. Yeah. But in the big city, everybody ain't speaking to each other. That ain't what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, this happy mother, you know.
They're like, is he okay? Like, do we need a call? Mobile crisis?
What's up, man? Where you from? But where we from, like community is like that. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. How your mama? How your daddy? Right. You know, community is a major thing, and that was passed down to me. Yes. Like my mom, I remember when we moved from the country to the I would call Hickory a city. Some people were like, that ain't no city. But I remember when we moved from the country to the city, and we're staying in the projects. You know, everybody loved my mama. My mama was such a community person. You know what I'm saying? Like when she cooked, she be selling plates. Everybody loved Mama Sue. And like, so community for me, that's why I like a lot of these young people, they call me Uncle Phil or whatever. And I'm good nephew. What's up, bro?
Yes.
It's like a family oriented lifestyle that I live.
Yeah.
And it's because that was passed down. My mama had a big old heart. Community is always big.
Totally.
And so for those of you that's out there and you're in community, you don't have to have a title to be a leader. You don't have to have a title to contribute to somebody's healing.
That's right.
You don't even got to say too much. Sometimes there's what I heard Philip Anthony Mitchell call the ministry of presence. Sometimes just your safe presence is good enough. You ain't got to say a thing. So as we talk about mental health, we need y'all to continue to understand the simplicity of how you can contribute to someone's healing, because the therapy is important. Yes, it is. Science is important, especially for those who may have a clinical challenge. And the community is also needed for the sustainability of the healing.
That's right. And like, again, when we've inherited knowledge that we can't always lean on systems, we lean on each other.
Woo!
Right?
Say that again. Say it again. Say it again.
What did I say?
You said...
like, wait.
You said the inherent knowledge. I got it. You know I got it because I'm always listening for bars from the therapist.
Right.
She said the inherent knowledge that when we can't depend on systems, we can depend on each other.
Yes.
Boom.
Boom. And that's where mutual aid comes in.
That's right.
Mutual aid is important. Yes. Like, yes, we need that. And that's also something that I think has been inherited.
Yeah. And when the hurricane hit, let's go back to the hurricane again.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the Hurricane Helene when that thing hit.
Yeah.
Man, people were surprised to see how we came together. And the reality of it is many of us, this is who we are, this is how we roll.
Right.
Because community care, deep community care, that's how we roll, that's who we are. So when it hit, we was able to get activated.
Yep.
It was no nonprofit hustle, it was no competition and all of that stuff. We went straight to getting activated together, locking arms to help people who needed help.
Yep.
And for some of us, man, we grieved when it ended. And I know it sounds crazy to some people, man, but the solidarity that I seen when I was out there doing that Hurricane Helene work and seeing people on the regular that I wouldn't usually get to see, and we helping people and they calling me, I got something they need, I call them, they got something, you know what I'm saying, and vice versa, looking out for each other. I miss those days.
Totally.
I miss those days.
Totally. And we're Black and Brown Mountain Town.
Yep.
Like, that's also a part of the culture of Appalachia.
That's right.
Like, we've had to lean on each other.
Yeah.
So even like if we look at the geographically, it's not like the mountains have been super accessible. And what's interesting, it's like, even though we have highways and airplanes and cars and all of that now, we're still a little isolated out here.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a little bit. It was this week. We had some folks from Atlanta, from the CMS. I forget what CMS stands for, but I was at the round table and the Roots Hubs transformation programs. And so we had some folks from Raleigh here, Deborah Farrington and some of her team, Maggie Woods from the Rural Health Transformation Program. And we had just some of the leaders I could name. I know Casey Cooper was there from the Cherokee Hospital. There's a guy, I forget his name, but he's over party. He's real knowledgeable, and I appreciate how he spoke up for us mountain folks. And but there was some other leaders in there, and I appreciated how they stood up for Western North Carolina.
Yes.
Because when we start talking about the needs that we have in Western North Carolina, we have very specific, unique needs in Western North Carolina.
Yes.
And when we're not in Raleigh, a lot of times we can get forgotten about.
Correct.
Right? So in the West, we have had to lean on each other. We have had to put our resources together. And now we're having more people who are speaking up about the needs. And I'm glad that we had that round table, and there will be more of those coming. But I had to make note of that when you said that about, here in these mountains, how it's a little different.
It is different. It's different. And so, like, as we continue talking, and it feels like we're coming to like a little bit of a close, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that we've discussed of, okay, like, what happens when survival outlives danger?
Wow.
Right? Like, what happens when the skills that we've learned to survive are no longer adaptive? Right? So, questions that I have for you, well, I'll ask this question. Like, how do we know when a survival strategy has become a burden?
I'm gonna take it back to what you said about them layers. Who am I when the layers come off? Who am I when the mask is off? When I done took took off all this heavy armor that I had to wear around all day to survive. And if I'm coming home and I'm empty, I ain't got no emotional currency left for my family. I'm not happy about going to work. I'm not sleeping good at night. I'm not going to see my therapist. I'm not going to my groups. I'm losing interest in things that was feeding my spirit. It's time for a change. It's definitely time for a change. It's time for me to have some different survival strategies. Yes, ma'am.
That is so real. I also I think about too, right? Like, how can we honor our ancestors and be like, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for getting me this far.
Yeah.
And like, I no longer feel the obligation to repeat this.
Come on.
Right.
Come
and
on.
so I know we were talking about this with the group earlier, and I think, we mentioned it in this conversation. Like, sometimes we do have to decide, like, okay, I can be grateful for everything that I've inherited, and I can also let some of these pieces go.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say one, and I'm gonna say this during Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm gonna say this from the heart, and it could even be controversial. But all white people ain't against me, man. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm pro-black. I'm pro-kingdom. I'm pro-healing. I'm pro-solidarity. I'm pro-humility. Because I don't believe the God that I serve created me to hate a people. And there are some people that are benefiting from what their ancestors did. Yes, they are. Whether they want to admit it or not.
Sure.
But I ain't going to take it out on them no more. I can't do that, man. And I know, like, what happened with my ancestors and some of the, I ain't see it in person, but some of what I seen and some of the stories that was passed down through the generations about, segregation and the different things that occurred like that. Just like the other day, I was talking to my daddy, and I was telling him, like, because my daddy be checking on me. I'm an only child. He be checking on me, trying to make sure his son is okay. And I get it. I love you, Daddy.
Aww.
Papa Si. But he be trying to check and make sure I'm okay. Because you know how I am when I do videos. Sometimes I might seem a little mad and fired up. For him, when he gets mad and fired up the way I am on just that video clip, he be ready to go off. So he like, man, are you okay? You taking care of yourself? Yeah. And I say, Dad, if me asking uncomfortable questions in a meeting with people who need me to provide a service to support the people that is going to keep them safe. Right. If me asking them uncomfortable questions is bothering me, I don't need to be in the field. My ancestors got hosed, bitten by canines, you feel me, beaten down. Yep. So if my advocacy can't match that of asking hard questions, I ain't doing something right. But I ain't got time for hate no more. I ain't, and I know for a fact I can't recruit other humanizers if I'm leading with that lens. Bishop Casey was praying with me the other day, and she was like, she prayed, she say, I pray that you would heal from your broken places so that they are not a lens to your future. So to your question, or not to your question, but what you had stated, some of these things I'm just gonna have to sit aside. I'm gonna some of these faulty core belief systems that I may have had, some of the belief systems I had when I was in prison, because the blacks stick with the blacks, the browns stick with the browns, the whites stick with the whites. That's how it is in prison. I ain't in prison no more.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And I think I'm sitting here and reflecting and just thinking about, we're talking about systems, we're talking about culture. I don't know if I can have any conversation without either of these two things. Yeah. But these oppressive systems hurt us all. Yeah. And I'm kind of sitting here. I mean, we can go with racism, right? But I'm sitting here with patriarchy and the culture around patriarchy, which looks different in every culture, right? In the Latina community, it shows up as machismo and kind of this toxic masculinity, right? But back to what you were saying of if I am just feel like I have to work and work and work and work to provide for my family, right? That's, and let's also talk about how systems of oppression also overlap. You can't tackle one without tackling the other, right? So if we're looking at how capitalism can show up and then how that matches with the patriarchy, there can be a lot of men out here being I get my worth by how much
Wow.
I work and how much I bring into the household,
Wow.
right? And so like this is now this culture or this system of patriarchy that has now made you feel like that is where you derive your self-worth from. And what happens when you get to the age where you can no longer work or you're done working because we get to rest eventually, right?
Yeah.
Now what? Where do you derive your self-worth from, and how is that going to impact your mental health?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like maybe the patriarchy isn't necessarily where it's at
Wow.
all the time, right?
I don't get my worth from my work. I can't afford to just be validated by my job. I have to have community.
That's right.
I have to have a tribe
That's right.
that can check me. I have to have a tribe who doesn't have that mindset. Because when I get that mindset, I need members of my tribe to hold me accountable and check me and say, hold on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what is your goal?
Right.
What are you doing?
Right.
Who are you when the layers come off?
Who are you when the layers come off? Yeah.
And as we talked about mental health today, and as we talked about the role that culture plays in mental health, we touched on some real life scenarios within two different cultures.
Yep.
You know, and first, I want y'all to remember that too. We started out talking about how race and culture are not equivalent, right?
Correct.
But then we dove in and we talked about how it is in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina as it relates to surviving, how systems can impact culture overall, and how we have an opportunity, my sister, to do something different.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
And we want to make our ancestors proud.
We sure do.
And yeah, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, I just got excited.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and
Keep going.
I'm like even with this podcast, it's showing Black and Brown solidarity, and that's another one that's needed.
That's right.
You know, Black and Brown solidarity is needed because we're not competing. We are not competing. We
No.
gonna collaborate, and we gonna be intentional about the healing.
Correct.
And if anybody don't like it, then will be people we won't be around.
You know, we're not for everybody.
We are not for everybody.
okay.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Joy is an act of resistance.
That's right. And I feel like I need to attribute, like, that quote does not come from me. That comes from, I did not quote that. So that is Toy Dericote in a poem. It's so good. It's so good. It's attached to a poem.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, yeah, we're not for everybody and not everyone is for us. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. So, okay. So speaking of ancestors, can we send people with an invitation?
An invitation. You be killing them invitation. You're such a therapist. She said, look, y'all, she said, we're going to give them an invitation because we're not giving them homework.
That's right. That's right. I don't know where my camera is. It's one of these
I'm looking
two.
at my camera. I'm ready for this invitation. For me, my invitation to you is to go home today or whenever after you've ingested this podcast, and I say ingested for real because I hope you took this in, fam. But when you go home and you put on your sweatpants
And Crocs.
and your Crocs or slides, I want you to kind of like, you know, just chill, sit down as you're resting, and the day is over. You're breathing, you're pausing. I want you to reflect on who are you after you took all the layers off. I invite you to consider who is it that you are when you take off the layers. Because code switching, wearing masks, overworking, all these things that the culture may have taught you that you had to do might be negatively impacting your mental health. And your step towards wellness might come right after that reflection.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I know we need money to survive.
Yes.
Right? And so I know there are people out there who are hearing that and being like, I can't afford to stop working X amount of hours or X amount of jobs. And I so hear that. And, you know, I will invite, like, and where can you find a crack to pause so that you can have this question? Maybe it's right before you fall asleep. Maybe it's 2 minutes before you get out of bed in the morning. Like, where can you find the space, right? And I think for me, my invitation that I want to put out there, especially since we've talked about what we've inherited, like what we're ready to release, like we can have both gratitude and awareness that that tool is no longer needed or that skill is no longer needed. Or maybe we find something else and have evolved. So my question and invitation is to think about what kind of ancestor you want to be, right? Like, what do you hope future generations will inherit from you? So that is what I would like to invite.
So
folks.
let me run those back. That was powerful. That was, man. I'm gonna try my best to not post it on social media yet. I'm like ready to post that right now. Like, what would Nelson Mandela do? But your two invitations that you have is to go home, and get comfortable and in a space where you can reflect on who are you once you've taken off the layers of code switching and overworking and trying to fit in and not saying anything about your emotions and not saying anything at all because you don't want to be seen as the angry, mad person. But who are you when all of that pressure is off? Who are you? And my sister said, what type of ancestor do you want to be seen as once you're gone? What an invitation.
I think it's a sweet one.
What an invitation.
Yeah.
And so, y'all, we thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for all of y'all who have been liking, sharing, and getting the podcast out there, because I'm going to tell y'all something right now, man. This podcast is making waves. People was talking about it when I was in D.C. I've had a couple of people ask me about like how we came up with it. We genuinely came up with this as a community health worker and a therapist working together to get people healing. And so here we are doing this podcast, Black and Brown Mountain Town, and we're giving y'all tangible ways to get the healing that you need, and then you can contribute to the healing of others, because healed people heal people.
Absolutely. And you, first and foremost, are your own healer, period.
Come on.
Like, you get to work on healing yourself so that you can then move through the world with hopefully a little more ease. So I'm like, follow us.
Follow us. Like, share,
yeah.
follow. Well, go on. You do it. I'm going to top it off. You hit them. Like, share, follow, turn up, share the content, share any quotes that you heard, because we're here for you.
We're here for you.
At Black and Brown
Mountain Town.
Whoa, who you know that get it jumping like this? Look, anything I touch just go, they call me Midas. Pull up to the function and I get it right. Just follow the